What the f***?
Hello, and welcome back to Weekly Cinema, the show where we discuss a movie every other week now. I'm your host, McKenna Coleman, here with my co-host,
Gabe Late.
and we have a guest today.
Hey, I'm Average, or otherwise known as Ava.
This is our second time having you on, right?
Yeah, Nick, thank you for having me back.
Of course. The first time we had you on, we, as you guys may know, last season, we discussed the Blues Brothers. And now she's back because we all happened to see the movie on the same day, but different occasions. And we are here to discuss it. And McKenna, what is the movie we're talking about?
We are talking about, of course, the new sequel, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, or otherwise known as Beetlejuice 2, because, well, you can't say his name 3 times.
The juice
course.
is loose, everybody.
Yeah, the juice is loose. Yeah, it's showtime.
It's
you guys
showtime.
ready? Yeah.
So this movie is directed by Tim Burton, was released on September 6th, and it's the sequel to the very great Halloween movie, Beetlejuice, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
This movie runs for about an hour and 45 minutes and is a horror/comedy.
Of course. So this came out last week, so we are very, very early to this. And the quick synopsis for those of you, before we get started, I do want to say this is a very, very, very heavy spoiler warning, because this entire episode we will be talking spoilers. This is not spoiler free. This is a spoiler review, just so you guys know. But anyways, the synopsis is 3 generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River after an unexpected family tragedy. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life soon gets turned upside down when her rebellious teenage daughter discovers a mysterious portal to the afterlife. When someone says Beetlejuice's name 3 times, the mischievous demon gleefully returns to unleash his very own brand of mayhem. So this movie takes place a few decades actually. It actually takes place pretty much in line with the timeline of when the first movie released and when this movie released. It's just same time. So there's a big gap in between, of course, as the original came out, what was it, the 90s?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so 80s. Wow, 1988.
80s.
So it's been a while. And this movie picks up, not where it left off, but picks up at that time. Of course, now it's 2024. And it does so in a pretty interesting way, where it has the story be that the stepfather, right? Or is it the actual father? I can't remember.
Who? What are you talking
guys?
about?
What's his name?
Charles?
Charles, yeah.
Yeah,
is that
it's the
his,
father.
That's his actual... But
Charlie.
the mom's the stepmother. Okay, yeah. So he ends up dying, and the family comes back together, where Lydia is now a full-grown woman and has a daughter and a husband who died and now has a new husband. So there's a whole story that happened behind the scenes. And then, of course, now, Delia is now a artist. She's pursuing her art dreams.
It's
Her
interesting.
art stream. Well, also, can I say something? I never knew the town was called Winter River.
Winter River?
They said something about it in the first movie, but they never actually said what the town's name was, and then I found out it's actually called Winter River in the second movie, and I was like, huh?
Interesting, yeah, right?
So,
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, the movie came out, and there's a lot on its plate because, of course, this is a big deal. It's a sequel to a beloved film. There is a lot of pressure to make it, truthful to the fans while also being unique, original, all that stuff. Of course, they had Tim Burton come back. The original cast came back. Of course, Warner Brothers. The budget was $100 million, and they had a lot of returning cast. Of course, they had the composer come back. Forgot his name. I can't believe I forgot his name.
No,
I'm blanking,
so
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman, thank you. He returned, and I guess the main topic of discussion today is: was it good? Was it a good and truthful, faithful sequel to the original Beetlejuice, which is what we'll be discussing today. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Let's give our quick reviews. So each of us is just going to give our reviews, tell us why we disliked it, liked it. Nobody can intervene. Just let the person talk, and then we'll discuss afterwards. But let's go one after another. So we're going to do, Ava, you go ahead and start, and then me and McKenna will go.
Okay, got it. So as much as people really do like this movie, like there again, like you said, there was a lot of pressure on it for being a good sequel because when I first saw the trailer for the movie, I did not have high hopes for it because just when it's always when you expect that when someone makes a sequel, it's never really going to be good. At least in my point of view, like there are some like instances where it might be good, or it might be better. There's very small chances that it might be better, but after seeing it last Saturday, I think, after I watched the whole movie with my family, I did not like it, and I have some kind of logical reasoning for this, I guess, because I've seen other people also like. After I was kind of thinking about it in my head, people started talking about it like online as well. And my main problem with the film was that there was just, at least in my head, there was too much going on. Is that like kind of in the first movie, it was just like the two ghost people, the Maitlands, and then it was the Dietz family, and then there was Beetlejuice. It was kind of just revolved around one thing. It was very simple. In this movie, I feel like they have so many things going on that sometimes it's just too much. And because there's too many things going on, I think it makes things seem like they're resolved way too quickly. Like I can give some examples. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I give some examples? Like we're introduced to Beetlejuice's ex-wife. What is her name again? Like
Dolores.
We're introduced to Dolores, his ex-wife that he killed. And she's kind of out for revenge and stuff, but they make her seem like a big threat, because she like kills two innocent people. But by the end of the movie, we really don't see that much of her, I feel like. Maybe we do, but at the end of the movie, she's not really a threat. She's killed off really comically, which I guess is the point, but I feel like they could have done a little more with her. And then the other villain in this film, antagonist, I could say, is the kid that is Astrid's love interest.
Jeremy.
Jeremy, yes. And because he's introduced, and there's so many things going on, but he turns out to be a villain because he wants to like swap places with Astrid so he can like be alive again, and then like she'll be stuck in the afterlife, and then he's like killed in the middle of the movie or whatever. He's, I don't know. But those are like two instances where it's just like there's some points where they didn't need stuff like that, or they could have done more with it. And that's mainly why I didn't like the movie, because there was too much going on. And by the end of it, it's kind of like nothing happened. That's kind of my full review, but I'm glad other people liked it, and there were some parts that like made me chuckle a little bit, that kind of made me laugh. And what was I gonna say? Never mind. I'll probably say that later.
So what do you give it? What do you give it out of 10?
Out of 10, if I'm giving my honest review, it wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, because at the very least it kept me entertained. But if I were to give a numbered rating, I'd probably say like a 5.5 out of 10, because it did have some good things, and then it had like I said, too many things going on, so that costed a couple points for me.
Would you recommend it or not recommend it?
In truth, personally for me, I would probably never watch this movie again, but a lot of people do like it, so...
I mean, despite what people say, I mean, it's okay that you have your opinion. It's completely fair. Just what do you say? Yes or no? Do you think somebody should go out of their way to watch this movie?
In theaters, no, which I won't give an explanation to unless, like, people want me to. I would say don't go see it in theaters right now. Like,
I mean, of course, it's a spoiler review, so pretty much everyone seeing this has already seen the movie. But if we were just so people can have a different point of view, you're saying pretty much no, it's not worth the money to go into theaters and see it.
It's not worth the money to go into theaters and see it. It was really expensive when I went with my family.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We basically spent $100 to go see it.
Yeah, theater prices are, God. Anyways, all right. Very well, very
Moving
well.
on. Thank
McKenna,
you.
what is your review?
So, I have a completely different opinion. As you know, because this is, again, one of the very rare instances that me and Gabe have seen a movie together, which happens like once a season, by the way. But I really did enjoy this movie. I think that it was a very great sequel to the original. And seeing the trailer, like Ava said, I know she said she didn't have high hopes for it or anything. But when I first saw the trailer, I was very intrigued. Like, what is this going to be? What is this going to be about? And I went to go see the movie, of course, and it, I think, exceeded my expectations for what I had. The humor, hilarious, and just the acting overall. And I feel like, yes, while there was a lot, that was like the entire plot of it. I don't think that it was too much. I don't think it was too little. I think it was the perfect amount. I think that this movie, I hold in very high regard to the original, of course, because it is one of my favorite Halloween movies, like, of all time. But I think that the second one might be better than the original, and it might be a very hot take. But I do, in the end, I'd say 9 out of 10, thumbs up, and I do recommend you go see it.
All right. So I'm going to be the mediator of you two. I'm pretty much in between your guys' opinions. So I love the first movie so much. It is definitely, I think, my favorite Halloween movie of all time. And I will say that I'm just going to start off by saying I give this movie a 8 out of 10, and I recommend it. But I do not think it's better than the original. I do think the original is better. In my opinion, for the things it did right and the things it did wrong, for one, this movie was just so enjoyable to watch. I mean, if you're a Beetlejuice fan, of course, I think you have to be a Beetlejuice fan watching this movie. It's like a Five Nights at Freddy's movie situation. If you don't like Beetlejuice, I don't think you're going to be into this movie, because this movie just goes right into it. It does not take any time to explain anything about it. It just throws you right in. It's just a sequel. I say, like, you have to watch the movie before watching this one, because it just throws you into it. And of course, it has that plot line, and I was smiling from ear to ear a lot of the times. I think one of my favorite moments is when Lydia and her husband, to-be husband, gets sucked into the couples therapy thing. That entire sequence was just so beautiful to watch. Them getting sucked into it, I'm like, oh my God. It's like they stayed so truthful to the original, which I absolutely adore. And yeah, of course, Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton killed it. He slipped right back into the role like he never left. Didn't age a bit, it looks like, because he's just incredible. What's her name? Catherine O'Hara killed it. Absolutely killed it. She was by far one of the funniest people in the movie. She was amazing. What's her name? I can't believe her. Jenna Ortega. Jenna Ortega did great. Absolutely great. She was definitely meant to have a role like this. Definitely an incredible actor and was perfect for this movie. As well as Willem Dafoe was fun to see. Of course, and then whoever played, I don't know his name, but whoever played the husband did great, and whoever played Astrid, not Astrid, whoever played, what's his name, Jeremy, he did great as well. I'm not, this might be a hot take too, I'm not gonna lie, I did not like Winona Ryder's performance in this as Lydia. I don't think she really did as well as she could have. I think she was really excited to be back into this role, but I love her as an actor. She's great in Stranger Things, but I just don't think that she really performed well in this movie. I think she was just having fun with it, didn't really take it as seriously, because there's everyone else in this movie just absolutely shined, and she just felt out of place for some reason. I don't know why. She just, not as a character, but just as an actor. Her performance felt out of place. So that's just my biggest disregard in this movie. And the other thing I really wasn't a fan of this movie is the same thing that Ava said. There is a lot going on. And I don't think that's the problem. I don't think a lot going on is the problem. I just think there was one too many storylines. They either should have cut out the ex-wife's storyline or cut out the Astrid storyline and go all in on one of them, because I think they split it in between, and it damaged everything else. It just didn't fit together perfectly, right? I think they should have just went all in with Astrid's storyline with the kid, They called Beetlejuice to help them out. There's a whole sequence at the end and stuff. Like, his storyline ended pretty early. And then, of course, there was the whole ex-wife storyline that kind of just had a big deal at the beginning. Nothing really happened in between. And then they had just a kind of weak ending with it. I just think they should have cut off the the ex-wife storyline right off the bat. That shouldn't have happened, in my opinion, because they just really didn't really go anywhere with it. There's so much potential there that just was kind of unfortunately wasted. I really liked the storyline of like the husband dying, of course, because if you guys don't know, the person who played the dad in the original movie, Charles Dietz, he's a horrible person. Horrible person.
Yeah,
He's
I
a
heard.
convicted. What's his name? Hold on, let me see. Let me pull up the trivia right here. He is a. No, stop it. Where is it? Sorry, guys. I can't find it. He's a child predator. I mean, he is not a great person. But so I liked what they did with his character. They still stayed truthful to his character, but not the actor. So they killed him off and bit his head off, which is just so funny. But I like that storyline, and I love how Catherine O'Hara. I love the plot twist where she just suddenly dies. That is the funniest and just most unexpected thing to happen in the movie. It was so great. I love the dance sequences. I'm a sucker for those kinds of things. I love how they had the singing moments. They had two of them, actually, where there was singing moments. And I loved it because, of course, in the original, you have the Deo. I don't think it beats it, of course, where they have the dance scene with the shrimp and stuff. I don't think anything could beat that. But I think they did. It was nice of them to pay tribute to that by having a scene like that in the movie. But the pacing of this movie was a little off. You know, everything was just happening so fast. If they slowed it down a bit, like Ava said, and made it a little bit more simple, like the original, it would have been more impactful. You know, just my main thing to take away from for this movie is, yes, this movie was a little bit all over the place, and there was some, like, it felt like kind of like it wasn't as, there wasn't as many. People didn't take. It feels like it wasn't taken as seriously as the first movie, in my opinion. You know, some of the performances and the storyline overall just felt weak. But on the contrary, I think that doesn't make it a bad movie because it still really shined. And in the end, I enjoyed it. I really had a great time, regardless, which I think constitutes for being a good movie. And I really enjoyed a lot of the scenery, the visuals. I love how they keep the practical effects of everything. Like the sandworm was still practically done and not CGI, which I love. That is amazing. Just Tim Burton doing his thing. But you know, it wasn't a great film. It wasn't a perfect film. It wasn't a masterful, masterclass in writing. But it was an enjoyable watch. It was fun, right? It doesn't have that same rewatchability as the first one, right? It's just a nostalgic trip. If you're into the first Beetlejuice movie and you really have that itch for a second one, this does deliver in that regard, but it's definitely not a movie that is like a top 10 movie type of deal. It's just a movie that's just kind of like a DLC to a video game, right? It's like where you want that extra bit of content since you love an original game so much. So there's that little extra bit that they include that you can, have, but nobody ever really adores a DLC and it becomes a cult classic, all that stuff. It doesn't stand, this movie just, in my opinion, doesn't do well as a standalone. But in the end, even though, regardless, I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it. I would recommend see it if you like the original Beetlejuice. And it has its flaws, but it could have been worse, in my opinion. It could have been worse, and of course, it could have been better. But yeah, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for me.
So, now it's time to get into critic reviews.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what other people say.
I'm interested.
Excuse me. So, IMDb, 7.1 out of 10.
7.1 out of 10?
That's
okay.
fair.
That's on par with me, I say.
Okay. Rotten Tomatoes, 77%.
Yep, that's
Kind
fair.
of close.
Our dreaded Metacritic,
Mm-hmm.
62%.
Okay, so it wasn't as off.
That's closer to my review.
That's closer
I
to
think.
yours, yeah.
And then, of course, Google users, which isn't really a critic, but is on here as well, because, audience can just rate this,
Yeah.
is 88%.
Interesting. So I'm looking here, and it seems like it's crazy. There's actually a very even split between 5 stars and 1 stars for the Google reviews, and it has an average of 3.5 right down the middle. So a lot of 4-star people said a lot of 5-star people said this movie took decades to come to fruition, but was completely worth every second. It was absolutely wonderful to see Michael Keaton come back. So, like, if you don't care about the details and you love Beetlejuice and you really wanted to see this happen, it's definitely and easily a movie that it does deliver. In my opinion, it does deliver as a sequel, and it does great. It's really enjoyable, really fun. Everyone, did a great job. But then if you look at the 1-star reviews, let's see right here. I hate to say it, but I don't rate this highly at all. This could and should have been amazing. Everything was there for it to be just that. A solid foundation from the original, a strong returning cast, but the whole thing was just meh. It had the feeling of a production that had been very inexperienced. It had a very inexperienced creative department, even though it didn't. The script seemed to have been written to a very tight deadline, with little time for rewrites or indeed anyone to take a step back and ask themselves, is this really good enough? As such, the sequel merely took all of the component parts of the original, locations, characters, events, and just reshuffled them into a different order. Existing locations, characters, existing firmly within the confines of the original world, instead of expanding upon it to take the viewer on a new journey or adventure. So that's another point to think about this movie that I don't really think is a bad or good thing. It's up for viewer interpretation. But they weren't bold with this movie. They were not bold at all. They definitely kept it straightforward, and they didn't risk anything, I think they were kind of scared to try something new because the original people may not have liked it. They did try something new with, like, the daughter storyline of it being a ghost and stuff, but that's kind of resonant with the original. There was still that type of deal with Lydia, where you had that original shock of, like, oh god, they're dead people, and she could see them. You're like, oh my god, it still has that original quality, right? So you notice that they don't try to do or introduce any new aspects or any new qualities to it, and there's that fine line between them being true to the original but also them being scared to try something new. And I feel like this movie just teeters right between that, where it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to tell whether they, are one way or the other, but this movie just didn't try to go out there. And you can notice that, that's for sure. And a lot of people are set off by that, which I completely understand. I just didn't think that was, that bad of a deal for me, in my opinion. But yeah, it definitely seems like this is a split movie. But I think, in my opinion, based off of what we're saying, I think it was a good sequel, like, whereas, you've seen sequels that are just tragic. Everyone can 100% agree that's like, oh my god, the sequel was awful and did not need to happen. But this sequel does it in a way where it's like, first of all, it does need to happen, and second of all, I think it could have been worse, It could have been worse. There's people who definitely could have been hating on this way more, and it seems to be pretty split, which is good to see. Good for them. But other than that, I mean, do you guys have anything to add to your reviews? Anything else you want to say?
I really do think that staying true to the original was a good choice.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the original fans, if they were to try something different, would probably go off on them a lot.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's something that people do not want to see, of course. But I really do think this was a great sequel. And like you said, it did need to happen because a lot of the original fans were hoping for something more than just the original Beetlejuice.
Of course.
And I think it was a great add-on to it.
Yeah.
While I believe that, yes, I think maybe the ex-wife story could have been taken out, and I'd like to have seen more of Astrid and Jeremy, I do think that they did a great job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ava?
I was going to agree with you that something about Winona Ryder is that she just wasn't in her role, or I guess you could say that, but I think there's a reason for that. Is basically in the first movie she was like 14, maybe 16. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely an age difference there.
But she was much younger. She was kind of like this gothy, I guess, obsessed with death. I don't know what it's like in the musical if it's different, but I guess she's kind of she becomes obsessed with death, kind of, but. And I think over time, she's not going to be the same as she was when she was 14. In the second movie, she's much older. She's, as you said, a grown woman. And she's just kind of a lot more defined. That's the best word I can use for it.
Yeah, a lot more humanized, you
Yeah.
can tell.
It's like I can still see like some parts of her character that are still there, but otherwise it's almost like they mixed Joyce from Stranger Things with Lydia from Beetlejuice,
True.
and they kind of just mixed them together. But I guess maybe that's just because I've watched Stranger Things too many times.
Right, and it's like that's her only really major roles that she's done as a older actor. So yeah,
so.
you can definitely notice that. But I don't know.
What are we on to now?
Well, there's no structure to this really, because I mean we have a short period of time, so
Okay.
we're just really talking and
Yeah,
stuff.
we got like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we could do like maybe 2 or 3 quotes each, and then maybe trivia.
Well, I don't think we have time for like let's just not. If you have anything to say, just say it, right? We're going to try and really break down like how it's segments of the show. We're just making it one big thing where we're just talking about the movie.
Okay.
So if you have any quotes you want to point out, anything you liked about the movie in particular, like I said about that couples therapy scene, just point it out, say what you will.
I mean, as much as I didn't like the movie, there were a lot of good parts in it. Like, I like how they kind of expanded on the afterlife world. We kind of saw more of it.
Yeah. Like the Soul Train. That was cool.
In the first movie, we only really saw like the kind of DMV place they went to,
Right.
and we kind of saw a bit more, I guess. And like as like in the movie, the one quote that I keep saying today is the juice is loose, like because
Juice
he
is
said that in the
loose.
trailer.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of like other scenes that I like actually enjoyed.
There's just so much. There's so many to
I
pick from. They blur together.
I'd have to like watch it again. Maybe I would have to watch it again to like
Yeah.
actually enjoy some scenes, but
It's definitely overwhelming.
it is over. There's a lot.
Yeah. I can tell that.
And another thing you said with like it kind of being the same as the original is another thing with like the husband, Lydia's old husband dying, just like in the first movie. Lydia's dad died, and then she has like in this movie she has a new husband. In the last movie, Lydia's dad, Charles, like he had the new wife, he had Delia, so it was kind of the same thing as well, which
Yeah,
I can
that's
definitely
true.
see.
I can see the parallel there. Yeah. All right, we're about to have to end this off. Do you have anything else to add, McKenna?
I do want to say that I really enjoyed the scene where Astrid and Jeremy first met.
Oh yeah.
And especially the whole thing with them going into the afterlife.
Yeah, I did like that
That-
plot twist a lot. That was pretty neat.
That was, I honestly didn't see that coming. And I think that was a good plot twist.
Yeah.
But I feel like we could have seen more of it.
I like the plot twist, but I'm not gonna lie. I think I did see it coming. Not that he was a ghost, but I knew something was up from the moment they wouldn't show the parents' faces. You know,
I didn't see anything
when
wrong
you
with that.
walked in, the parents were like facing the other way while they were talking. Both of them were. And you just immediately notice that. Like, you immediately do. Because as an actor in movies, you always want to show the actor's face, regardless. Like, you want to give them that screen time. And so it was just strange that they didn't show it until that point. But I didn't think that was a ghost or anything was wrong. I just noticed that something was weird. So the plot twist still got me. But
I knew that. For me, the moment I knew something was off was when he leaned in for a kiss. I was like, "Calm down, dude. It's been more. You met a day ago."
I know, he was going
and I'm
really
like,
fast,
and
yeah.
I go, "Wait, something's wrong. It's been a day."
it's only been a day, right? Yeah. But all right, yeah. But thank you guys so much for joining in our discussion of
course, yes.
Beetlejuice.
Thank you for having me back
yes,
again.
Thank you for coming on
It
the
was
show.
really nice.
We'll definitely have you on more and we'll get some other people on here. It's been fun. It sucks with the time restraint that we have, but
Yeah.
I think it allowed us to have a really thoughtful discussion here, and we expressed some cool opinions. So, of course, let us know what you guys think down below. If there's anybody new watching it, then be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and check out our Spotify page for more episodes. But for now, that's all. Oh my God, we didn't pick a movie. I just realized that. It's fine. It'll be a surprise. Oh well.
Okay.
Tune in not next week, but the week after for another movie discussion. Tune in next week for who knows bonus episode. But
Womp womp.
womp womp. Oh well. Anyways, this show is getting off the rails. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, and all that. And we will see you all in the next one.
See ya.
Goodbye.